Good evening, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellence, Professor.
Your Excellency, Dr. Emrullah, the representative of Turkey, Secretary General of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, Mr. Riyad Mansour, Permanent Observer of the State of Palestine to the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, on the name of everybody at this meeting, I thank you for being present at this meeting. This meeting was organized jointly with the two partners, first of all, the Organization for Islamic Cooperation and the government of the Republic of Turkey. And this has been something new, and I'm delighted to tell you that it's been a great success. The quality of the presentations and our discussions over the last 2 days was greatly enriched by the diversity and the liveliness of our cooperation. Right now, it's my honor to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister, His Excellency Professor Dr. Emrullah Ishler, to address the meeting.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. السادة وزراء دولة فلسطين
In the name of God, the compassionate and the merciful, Your Excellencies, our brothers from Palestine, the chairman of our committee, the rights of the Palestinian people, the Mr. Samir Bakr, the Assistant Secretary General, Organization of the Islamic Cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all in the name of God. It is my pleasure to address you at the closure of the international meeting on the question of Jerusalem, hosted by Turkey in the framework of the year 2014, which is the year for solidarity with the Palestinian people. Once again, I would like, on my own name and that of the Turkish government, I'd like to reiterate our thanks to the United Nations and the OIC for their cooperation in organizing this extremely important meeting on the question of Jerusalem, all its aspects, in an atmosphere of discussion over the last 2 days, which have been enriched by statements by experts, specialists. This is a question which we're happy to discuss. We mustn't forget that the situation prevailing in Jerusalem reflects the conscience of mankind, so that it's of interest to the international community as a whole. And I should emphasize that Jerusalem is special because of its holiness to the three religions. It's considered to be a capital for the whole of mankind. And we can see this through the people who have described the city of Jerusalem as the city of peace, the city of religion. We cannot talk about the city of Jerusalem from the point of view of threats and catastrophes which the city has been facing without talking about the pain and suffering of our Palestinian brothers in the light of the occupation. The Palestinian people are continuing their fight against the historical injustice which began in 1948 and still continues. Israel is implementing all its rights because it has been a state since its declaration of independence in 1948. However, the Palestinian people under the pretext of several obstacles and several arguments, have been prevented from enjoying its independent statehood. Your Excellencies, the Palestinian question is one where we want to put an end to the occupation and help our Palestinian brothers to enjoy their fundamental freedoms which have been violated over the years. Thus, our joint objective is to fight for the Palestinian people to live in an independent, sovereign state with East Jerusalem as its capital. Turkey has always sided with the Palestinian people in their just fight and was among the first countries to recognize the state of Palestine following the declaration of its foundation in exile on the 15th of October 1988. We provided support and assistance for self-determination for Palestine in 1993 in the occupied territories in the framework of the Oslo process. Unlike the position adopted by Israel, which led to demolition and destruction of the peace process and was an obstacle to the construction of a Palestinian state in the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital, Turkey has been providing a lot of assistance to the fight fought by Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, its president, to ensure the recognition of Palestine at international level. Among the clearest examples of Turkish assistance, we could quote our effective contribution to steps taken to ensure that Palestine may have its status inside the United Nations. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs participated personally, as did members of our government during the voting at the United Nations General Assembly on the 29th of October 2012, which granted Palestine the status of observer state non-member unanimously by the member states of the United Nations. As in the past, Turkey will continue henceforth to make every effort to guarantee the just position of Palestine, that is, a member of the international community. Our international partners, and I'm particularly thinking of the Islamic states, must continue in their support for Palestine in this area to recognize that there is no choice for the international community. It's a moral and political obligation upon it. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, we cannot settle the Palestinian question before we settle the question of Jerusalem. We cannot put an end to the Arab-Israeli conflict before we settle the Palestinian question. In our opinion, there's no difference between the heritage of Jerusalem, a cultural center concentrating several religions, and our identity of Jerusalem for the Turkish people is that of a city of tolerance, brotherhood, and this is something we've believed throughout our history. The scriptures, or the inscriptions on what's written on the walls of Jerusalem, is what we can see at the Jaffa Gate of Ibrahim. We see here a point that we had forgotten about, that we should enter the city by this gate, and when you go through this gate, you're going to see the inscriptions which are eternal. They are words of Ibrahim the prophet, of God, and in view of the importance of the three holy religions in this city, this question is an undoubted proof of the historical depth of the tolerance of the Ottomans, because this phrase replaces the one which says Muhammad, prophet of God, that we were accustomed to seeing. It reflects our viewpoint at the present time as far as these questions are concerned. What we hope is that peace and reconciliation will prevail, and that Jerusalem will become a center and a symbol of peace and international understanding. And no doubt the religious and historical heritage of Jerusalem has been very well merited in the past. It doesn't belong to one people or one religion, and it will not be now or in the future. The international meeting on Jerusalem sent out a message to the whole world, according to which they should certainly not accept what is being done to modify the cultural and economic character of Jerusalem. The international community should take every opportunity to express the sensitivity of this question. And the citizens of the whole world, be they Muslim, Christian, or whatever may be their religion and their culture that they belong to, they must consider Jerusalem to be a common heritage of the whole of mankind. So Turkey will support any initiative made by the United Nations and by the Organization for Islamic Cooperation along these lines. And it will become a pioneer if necessary. Turkey will, in the future, pursue the efforts being made to make Jerusalem a city where all factions can live together in an atmosphere where understanding and peace will prevail as they did in the past. And I would like to express our readiness to host this kind of conference every year in order to make international public opinion aware of the situation and of the developments taking place in Palestine and in Jerusalem. And once again, on behalf of the Turkish government, I would like to extend my thanks to all the participants, to all the speakers for their contribution, and I would also like to greet you very warmly and thank you.
I would like to thank His Excellency Professor Dr. Emrullah Isler, Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, for his very important statement. Excellencies, the organizers appreciate very much the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to meet with the participants yesterday during the reception that you invited us to, and today in this closing session. We would like to seize this opportunity to express our gratitude to the government and the people of Turkey for their unswerving support for the Palestinian people. And about this meeting, we would like to pay a very special tribute to His Excellency, Mr. Ahmet Davutoglu, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Turkey, for the considerable effort he has always made in order to ensure that this event is a success. We are also very grateful to our colleagues from New York, and in particular the Ambassador Alik Sevek, permanent representative of Turkey to the United Nations in New York. Thank you, Excellency, for having come and having accepted to join us in our closing session. It is now a privilege for me to invite His Excellency Mr. Samir Bakr, the Deputy Secretary General of the OIC for Palestinian Affairs and Al-Quds Al-Sharif, to make his statement. You have the floor, sir.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سعادة البروفيسور دكتور أمير الله إسلام.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Professor Emrullah Isr, Mr. Abdou Salim Diallo, Chairman of the Committee for the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, Mr. Riyad Mansour, representative of the State of Palestine to the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen. As we close this conference, I would like to express my deep and sincere thanks on behalf of the OIC to the government and the people of Turkey for having hosted this very important meeting on the question of Jerusalem, and our thanks to them also for their very warm welcome, for their hospitality, and we wish them every success. I would also like to take this opportunity to pay a tribute to the United Nations for the steps taken and everything that was done to organize this extremely important meeting. My thanks also to all participants who have accepted the invitation to come. We'd like to pay tribute to the efforts that they have invested in this and will without a doubt, and which will without a doubt have an impact, and in order to be able to follow the latest developments with regard to the status of Jerusalem, and that we will continue to follow up on in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the holding of this conference bears witness to our joint work in solidarity, in support of Jerusalem. We, in the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, reiterate that the question of Palestine, including East Jerusalem, will stand as our priority during our political negotiations, since it is the main question, and in fact it is the key to peace and security in the region. We would also like to express our commitment to cooperate with the international community to put a stop to the Israeli settlements and to make it possible for the Palestinian people to recover their rights. In other words, that their state should be created on the basis of the pre-1967 orders, with East Jerusalem as a capital. Lastly, I would like to pay a special tribute to the Committee of the United Nations for the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, and at its head, Mr. Abdou Salam Diallo, as well as the members of the committee for their untiring efforts for a just solution to the Palestinian question. We know that we will continue our activities together in the very near future. Thank you to everyone, and peace be with you. Thank you. I'd like to thank His Excellency Mr. Samir Bakr for having accepted to represent the OIC at this meeting, and I would also, of course, be remiss if I did not ask him to pass on to your Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Iyad bin Amin Madani, our deep appreciation for the quality support from the OIC. The OIC has always given us this support at the political level, but also technical and financial levels, in order to ensure that there's progress in the legitimate rights of the people and the state of Palestine. Thank you again. And now I'd like to invite His Excellency Ambassador Riyad Mansour, Permanent Observer of the State of Palestine to the United Nations in New York, to take the floor in his closing statement.
Mr. Chairman, allow me at the beginning to express the appreciation and thanks of the Palestinian people and their leadership and President Mahmoud Abbas, the President of the State of Palestine and the Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization, for the hosting of this country, friendly country of Turkey. We thank the people and the government of Turkey, and we are honored to have among us the Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Amrullah Esler, and also the Deputy Secretary General of the OIC, and you, Mr. Chairman, for collaborating together to organize this very important meeting on the question of Jerusalem at this particular moment in Ankara. We thank all those who made this meeting a successful one. We thank all the experts who came and gave us rich presentations about the different aspects of the life of the Palestinian people in the occupied Palestinian territory, especially in occupied East Jerusalem. I am honored and proud that my brothers who came from Palestine, especially those who came from Jerusalem, high officials and other experts who shared with you the pain and the suffering of our people in Jerusalem and in the occupied territory. And I believe that you have transmitted to this conference and this through conference to the entire world the story of our people, their pain, their struggle, their frustration, and their anger, and you are justly correct in conveying that message because the pain of our people under occupation is so immense. It has to be told in order to further educate everyone about what we, the Palestinian people, are going through and enduring. You have conveyed accurately the message of our people. And it was necessary to convey it with the anger that you did and the frustration you did, because the leaders of the world, they should listen to that message and they should conclude from it what need to be concluded, that this occupation cannot be tolerated any longer and it should be terminated. And the world and the international community and all of our friends, they have to step up to the plate and to listen to your call in order to end this occupation to our homeland, and including East Jerusalem, the capital, the eternal capital of our beloved homeland, Palestine. The reason why we convened this conference on Jerusalem at this particular moment here in Ankara, because we wanted to enlarge the base of partners, the OIC, in addition to the Palestine Committee and Turkey, as we have done earlier this year in Cairo, when the committee met with the Council of Arab Foreign Ministers to increase also the base of partners and supporters, and as we have done in Latin America in having a meeting to invite all those who are supportive of justice to be partner with us at this critical moment. So this is preparation for the things ahead of us. For us, the Palestinian people are steadfasting and resisting as much as they can in every place, including in East Jerusalem. That is our duty, and we will continue doing it. And I believe this will be intensified further, especially after the accomplishment or the beginning of the process of the accomplishment of putting an end to the split between the two wings of our homeland and between our two political systems. I don't need to elaborate further. My brother Mohammed Shtayeh and the two ministers, the minister, Dr. Al-Habbash, and my other brother, the governor of Jerusalem, expressed to you details of what this means to us in terms of regaining national unity. It is a must. It is a need. It is another component of our readiness to face what is ahead of us as Palestinian people. That is the first component. The second component, our leadership, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, who could be named in our culture, the Palestinian culture, as Ayyub. For us, the Palestinians, we have a famous prophet. His name is Ayyub. He is the prophet of patience. President Mahmoud Abbas, in spite of the pressure from all of us, within the PLO and outside the PLO, not to continue with negotiations, he was correctly telling us, be patient, let's try to negotiate for a further period of time. What is 9 months in the history of the Palestinian people? And we went along with him, some of us reluctantly, but all of us went along with that policy. And I think that wisdom is bearing fruit for us today. Nobody can blame us that we did not negotiate in good faith. We negotiated in good faith on the basis of international legitimacy, UN resolutions, the Arab Peace Initiative to put an end to this occupation and to allow for the independence of the State of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital. Now, with the patience of our leadership and the correctness of the path that we followed, that we will not leave an opportunity not to be explored in order to advance the cause of peace. But yet the other side is not interested in peace. Because how could they negotiate with us peace? The objective of ending the occupation and allowing for the independence of the State of Palestine when they are illegally continuing on this illegal program of settlement activities and in fact intensifying it and reaching 123% in the year before the negotiation in comparison, in the year of the negotiation in comparison to the year before. Those who want to negotiate peace with us to put an end to occupation should be preparing their people for these decisions to evacuate and to leave our homeland, including East Jerusalem. But when they negotiate with us, in one hand, and intensify the colonization program, what is their action telling us? Their action is saying they don't want to withdraw. Those who have agreement with us to release the prisoners prior to Oslo, and when the fourth batch was supposed to be released, they present new conditions. What is that action is telling us? They are not interested in peace. So therefore, they are responsible for, because of their intransigence, for this state of the negotiation and the political process. And I am proud to say, with the struggle of our people, the responsibility of our leadership, the flexibility that we've demonstrated, nobody now is blaming us as the party responsible for the failure of the negotiation. Then we did one more thing. We started more than 5 years ago in a process to have an additional tool available to us to defend our people and our cause in a more of an effective role, diplomatically, politically, and legally. When we started the program more than 5 years ago, telling states to recognize the State of Palestine bilaterally as an investment in peace, we had a plan in mind that we wanted to increase the base, the global pace, for the support of the recognition of the State of Palestine, since this is going to be the end game of the two-state solution. So those who recognized us, they were investing in peace. They were investing in the advancement of the two-state solution. We had more than 130 countries recognizing us before we went to the UN. The second step was going to the UN for the recognition of the State of Palestine and changing its legal status. Whether we went to the General Assembly first or the Security Council first, it's irrelevant. We've accomplished that in November 29, 2012. The recognition of the State of Palestine by an overwhelming majority and the changing of our status to the recognition of the state, whether it is a full member, which is our right, or an observer member, what has been resolved is the world is recognizing the State of Palestine as reality. Our nation exists, our state exists, our land exists, but we are under occupation. We did that in order to open doors for us, mainly to join international treaties and conventions and agencies, to be more ready. And we've done that, and we've joined as the first batch, the 15th treaties and convention. And there will be other waves depending on the behavior of Israel, the occupying power. We are now at a crisis moment. We are now at a crossroad moment. We are now at a historical moment. And we are now more equipped. The Palestinians who are carrying the torch of justice in the Middle East. We are not asking people to do our job. We are doing our job in our homeland, and we will continue to do that. But we are asking the international community now. You asked us to negotiate, we did. You asked us to be patient, we did. You asked us to try every possible effort to put an end to occupation and to reach peace with Israel, and we did. But the other side did not act accordingly. Now you should be telling us, the international community, those of you who are sitting in this room and many of you who are not and might be listening to us. You should be telling us that we will go with you in order to fight harder and using the new tools that are available to you. And let me also tell you, we are smart people, we know what is happening in this world. The world is changing and they are fed up with the intransigence of Israel. And now we are reaching a moment where the world is more ready than before in order to fight with us in all fronts, including the legal fronts. It was no accident that at the beginning of this year that the guidelines in Europe came into implementation. It was no accident that in the Netherlands, 5 major banks decided not to have business with the banks dealing with the settlements in Israel. The same in Sweden and Norway. The same in South Africa. These are signals that the world now is ready. They were not ready before. And here I'm not only referring to civil societies who are advanced ahead of the game on the sanctions movement against Israel, but now I can tell you, governments, parliamentarians, academicians, media, experts are more ready than ever in order really to deal with Israel in a different way. We are at a historical moment in which Israel has to understand that it will pay a huge price for the continuation of occupation and the colonization program and the illegal activities against our people in Jerusalem. If terrorists are seeked to be detained and to cut their financial money by all countries because they are acting illegally and in a criminal way, don't you think that we are reaching the moment where countries should legislate that settlers, those who plan for settlements, their leaders, those who give the orders, those who transfer them, those who finance them, don't you think that all this illegal process, that those who are involved in it, aren't they criminals and should be seeked? We ask all countries, and we will go after you to ask you concretely, that those settlers should be treated as criminals, should not be allowed to visit your countries. And if they visit your countries, detain them, because they are committing crimes against the Palestinian people, the same who are committing crimes against our people in East Jerusalem. The moment is ready for such activities, and we have collectively to elevate ourselves to that level. I believe if we make collectively, all of us, and on the front, the Palestinian people, making this colonization plan, including settlements, a very expensive proposition for Israel, to lose money and to be embarrassed, to be isolated, to be seen as criminals because of what they do, I believe the Israeli leaders or some future leaders will change their mind and will come and negotiate with us in good faith to end the occupation. Those of you who want to save the two-state solution, we have to break the backbone of the occupation on the issue of settlements. That is possible, that is doable, and collectively we have to do it. And I believe the message from this conference that we are collectively ready to do that, and we should do that, and I believe that would be a decisive moment in our struggle to put an end to occupation and to have the sovereignty and independence of the State of Palestine. This is the message from Ankara, and we will be meeting in the future in order to accomplish that, and I thank you very much.
Je remercie l'ambassadeur Riyad Mansour.
I'd like to thank Ambassador Riyad Mansour, Permanent Observer of the State of Palestine to the United Nations in New York, a statement that was as forceful as it was fascinating. And this is, I think, typical of Ambassador Riyad Mansour, and I'd like to thank him for having recalled for us in his statement the very strong, vigorous reaction that the international community needs to show, in particular the United Nations, our committee, governments, civil society, as we face the situation in Jerusalem. The attitude of the delegation of Palestine is imbued with dignity as they face the daily challenges of the inhabitants of the Holy City. For our committee, it has been a privilege to share this time with you and with all of your colleagues here in Ankara in order to better understand the current situation in Jerusalem. Mr. Ambassador, please be assured that our committee will spare no effort and will do its best to support a fair solution to the question of Jerusalem. Excellencies, allow me at this point to make a closing statement as the chairman of the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound honor and privilege to close this international meeting on the question of Jerusalem, which we opened this illustrious meeting yesterday together with the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Turkey, His Excellency Ahmed Davutoglu, the Secretary General of the OIC, His Excellency Iyad bin Amin Madani, and two ministers of the State of Palestine, His Excellency Mahmoud al-Habbash, Minister of Awqaf and Religious Affairs, and His Excellency Adnan Husseini, Minister of Jerusalem Affairs. Yesterday we also heard the latest information on the current status in the divided city of Jerusalem, and we heard firsthand about the complications endured every day by the faithful and the local Palestinian residents from all walks of life. Earlier today, we were informed in greater detail about specific measures taken by the occupying power, in particular with regard to expropriation of land, continued settlements, house demolitions, and the evictions of Palestinian residents. We also received updates on the socioeconomic hardships of Palestinian residents of Jerusalem. Finally, this afternoon, we discussed the role of the international community in promoting a just solution, and we heard some constructive ideas from a number of speakers on the way forward. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, the situation in Jerusalem is grave. Every action taken by the occupying power to sow new colonies in East Jerusalem for settlers represents a violation of international humanitarian law. The international community as a whole, the Islamic Ummah and the Arab world are exasperated by the provocations by the Israeli government, politicians and right-wing activists, especially with regard to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Such provocations serve no one's interest, and they simply must stop. 2014, ladies and gentlemen, is the International Year of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. And your presence over the course of these 2 days has complemented our committee's own efforts to bring to light some of the main issues that must be addressed by peacemakers in the pursuit of a just, sustainable solution to this conflict. I thank you all for your contributions to these discussions. I would also like to thank our collaborators from the Foreign Ministry of Turkey, notably Mr. Ali Rasul Usul, who moderated the third plenary today, the permanent representative in New York, Ambassador of Turkey in New York, Ambassador Yasar Haliçevik, and Ms. Melis Kurultay from the Permanent Mission of Turkey in New York, and Assistant Secretary General for Palestine and Al-Quds al-Sharif, Mr. Samir Bakr, and Mr. Shaher Awad from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, New York. We thank them all for their active and constructive assistance and collaboration throughout the organization of this important event. We were honored by the presence of a number of Palestinians who live every day with the contradictions and the complications of life in Jerusalem. Let me mention, for example, Sheikh Hussein, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Mr. Mahdi Abdul Hadi, Chairman of the Palestinian Academic Society for the Study of International Affairs, Mr. Jad Isaac, Director General of the Applied Research Institute, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Baraka, a member of Israel's Knesset, Mr. Mohammed Shtaye, Senior Advisor to President Abbas, and I thank all of you for taking the time to be here with us over the past 2 days. Your courage in standing up to the occupation of East Jerusalem on a daily basis, your presence here in Ankara, and your insights on the status of Jerusalem and on the way forward are simply inspiring for us all. For there to be a just and sustainable solution, we must all play a role. And I encourage you, speaking for the committee now, I encourage you to continue staying engaged on the question of Jerusalem and continue to pursue your initiatives, be it at the government or civil society levels, to uphold international law and to arrive at a just solution on the issues. I declare adjourned the international meeting on the question of Jerusalem. Thank you and good evening.